Good evening, guys. Good afternoon. Good morning. Good night. Well, maybe not good night. But it's been a long time. It's been maybe like a year since I've done like a Japanese update and 6 months since I did like the last tutorial what I made. Like a lot of you probably wondering like, what's new, buddy? What are you actually doing? And tell us a little bit about your Japanese journey this year. As a summary, what happened is I watched 40 anime seasons, played 527 hours of video games, 126 hours of light novels, 6 manga volumes, and 1 light novel, as well as making a new friend who I speak to every week alongside my other friend who I've been friends with for like 3 years now, who we just speak like English and Japanese every week. So it's cool, it's wholesome. Always surround yourself with good people. So let's just dive a little bit into these things I actually did. So let's start off with the video games. So I started off the year with Persona 5. Persona 5 is an amazing game. It's got like lots of style and lots of vibes into it. Really colourful. Fighting system's really cool. Combat's really cool. And the relationships between the characters are really nice. I had a chance to freaking romance, my protagonist with another character, and that character was Anne. Sadly, I passed that because I really wanted to, romance Futabara, the otaku kind of character. Sadly, I didn't have enough points for that, so it fell through. I really wish I romanced Anne now. Overall, it's a good game. In terms of Japanese, it was definitely at that point one of the hardest games that I've played, but the game was quite forgiving. Like, it was quite easy to understand the gist of what's going on and where it's going next and everything. One of the characters who were really difficult to understand was actually Igor, when you go into that space where you can kind of upgrade all of your monsters and everything. Yeah, he had a very specific way of speaking, as well as, that investigator at the start of the game. She did speak in this particular way. That was Persona 5. After that, I played a little bit of Dragon Quest 1. I played that for 10 hours, and that game, you have to make sure you'd like to read in that game, because that game is all about reading, as there's no kind of markers which tell you where to go next. So make sure to talk to everybody in that game in order to find out where to go next. After that, I played an all-time classic, an all-time favorite of mine, because I love Zelda. So I played Zelda Ocarina of Time. I loved it, it's just a flashback to the past. I played a 3DS version, which was really nice. Upgraded graphics and stuff, because before that I only played the N64 version and the GameCube version, as well as Last of Us back then, but this time, I just played the 3DS version, which was cool. I liked that, and language-wise, it was fine, It was definitely more on the easy side. So if you're just thinking of jumping into a game, like even if it's one of your first games, Zelda's definitely a good shout. Then I went on to my now hardest game I've ever played, which was Tales of Vesperia. Tales of Vesperia has so much dialogue in it, which is good for language learning, and it was unclear where to go next at times. Usually you find out where to go next through the story, as well as the little summary tag you can go on the menu. So you just go to summary, a bunch of Japanese, you read it, you understand it. There's a little bit of highlights, to kind of make it a bit easier. What's the most important thing, and then you use that to go to the next part. Like, I think the annoying part is like sometimes the character's like, hey, let's rest, and you have to rest in kind of like an inn, and then there'll be one character standing outside a building and he's just like, do you want to rest? But I'll talk to everybody other than that one guy, and I'll be like, where do I have to go? And then I finally speak to that guy and I'm like, oh, I'm so stupid. So that happened a few times at certain points in the story where I had to rest. Yeah, I played those games, and while doing that along the way, I tried my best to target my Anki towards learning lots of fantasy words and get words that would generally be in Tales games through, doing Anki decks with Northman, so I can get all the I+1 sentences that are relevant to me with stuff like Tales of the Abyss, or stuff like Tales of Hysteria the X, and many other different series what I learned vocab from. And then all in preparation for the game what I was looking forward to for a while, which was Tales of Arise. And Tales of Arise, very different compared to previous Tales games, as it has you know, it's definitely a technological upgrade, because with Tales of Assyria, right, that's the most recent Tales games. Before Arise, you know, it's definitely stuck in like the late kind of PS3s, early kind of PS4 era in terms of graphics. Yeah, we just get this next gen kind of upgrade. Proper graphics are really cool, combat is really cool, visually it just looks stunning, it looks amazing. Massive upgrade, and the most recent entry into the Tales series. And it was just amazing from start to finish. It was cool that all of my language progress came into one, and I understood most of it, like the gist, and then there's lots of like little markers which made it a little bit more easier compared to Vesperia in terms of where you need to go and etc. And I managed to complete it 100% and get all the trophies, which was cool, and it took me 107 hours. Yeah, so in terms of the other games what I played like I finally completed this year Ni no Kuni on the DS, which is an interesting game because this game only came out in Japan, right? The first time the West saw Ni no Kuni was when it got remade on the PS3, and then that version got localized to, you know, Western countries and other countries in the world. So that's pretty cool. But the annoying thing about the game is that the DS game, you had to use a separate book called the Magic Master, and this is like a separate physical book in order to progress through some of the games, whether it's find out what spells that you need to, you know, cast, you know, the spells that you need to cast, or certain clues in order to advance in the story and, you know, progress through certain puzzles. That was pretty tricky, but me and Benji, you know, my friend Benji, who I play games with, we managed to get through that, and that was a really fun experience just playing the game with Benji. We usually play like every week, like once a week, like 2 to 4 hours, so we did that, and this is our second year doing this, and every week, and we managed to complete it. Took around like 100 hours in general, and we managed to play a lot more games this year, a lot more hours this year, as we also completed Dragon Quest V this year. That took us 45 hours. It's a bit on the easier side. Some towards the end it can get, you know, a bit like, where do I have to go? But yeah, we managed to sort that, and yeah, that was a cool play. So after that, we tried to start SMT4, but I died in the tutorial, and I'm like, oh my god. Benji saw that, you know, I got a bit frustrated with all that, and then we switched to Final Fantasy VIII instead. So far we played less than 10 hours, and I'm enjoying that a lot more. So other than that, yeah, I played like 126 hours of visual novels, and then with the visual novels what I played, I've simply played Data Live in a Utopia, and I love Data Live, so that's cool. 68 hours of that. I played another one called Nekopara. You know, if you know Nekopara, you know Nekopara, and Love Cube, which is made by the same creators as Nekopara. Nekopara and Love Cube, very like Nishio Kaiwa kind of vocabulary, very everyday vocabulary, so wasn't too bad. Data Live, you know, a little bit of more technical vocabulary at times, but overall it still wasn't too bad, and I did all the routes with Data Live in Utopia, so lots of cool stuff. But one thing I will say about playing games versus playing visual novels is that the language density you get when you play video games is a lot less compared to language density you get when you play visual novels. And what I'm talking about is the amount of language that is present at one moment compared to another. So for example, with visual novel, there's always text on the screen, so you're always going to be reading, right? And with video games, there's not always text on the screen. Sometimes you're going to be, you know, actively playing the game and, you know, doing things within the game, which is, you know, more kind of active focus as opposed to language focused in that sense. So yeah, definitely visual novels are more denser. I did notice the difference between, you know, how, you know, polished my Japanese was when I was playing video games, because there's times where I was a bit lazy and I just glossed over the gist and I didn't really try to get all the whole sentence sometimes. But with light novels, it's very much more of an immersive experience. But obviously I generally like playing video games more, so even though it's less language dense, it's still enjoyable, and you should always focus on what's enjoyable for you. Other than that, I didn't read so much light novels and manga, sorry. I did read like Shingeki no Kyojin volume 29 to 33. I'm not going to talk about that, but what I will say is, if you've watched the anime only, look at the trailer and look forward to it. Yeah, you know, I'll let you be, you know, the judge of that. And also, I checked out Yotsuba volume 15, and Yotsuba is just Yotsuba, you know, just daily life sort of stuff. Also, I read The Girl Who Left for Time, which was really cool. I read this while listening to the audiobook at the same time, so it's kind of like a visual novel. You play the audiobook and you trace with your eyes or with your finger, or however you like to trace. while reading, and yeah, that was a cool kind of experience, just having that audio component as well as, you know, reading it. Made it less kind of, you know, mendokusai, you know, less of a nuisance, as yeah, light novels is definitely something what I probably have to do more and get used to, you know. And that's one thing I didn't actually tackle this year, what I'm probably going to talk about later on. So yeah, so those are the things what I did in terms of the media I consumed. And let's talk a little bit about the anime that I watched as well, and I'll just talk a little bit about the favorites, what I enjoyed. And yeah, so let's go through it. Like, I really like Kaguya-sama. That was just, you know, really cool, really interesting, very dense. I really liked Izaki-chan. That was pretty cool. You know, Izaki just she's just funny, man. What else? I really liked Welcome to NHK. That stuff was real, man. Like, damn. Studio Experiments Lane, opening banged. Like, that was the good stuff. And yeah, the story was pretty, it was something. Jiharati Hayafuru was pretty cool as well. The action plus, you know, drama kind of element, really nice. What else we got? Jujutsu Kaisen, visually it was quite nice. Yuru Camp, you know, ultra comfy, you know, we were like that. Evangelion, or Evangelion, however you like to say it, right? 3.0 to plus 1.1, that was really cool. What else? Nagatoro, of course, let's go. To Eternity, like, I should really check out the Japanese name for it. That was really nice. Like, that main character needs to stop suffering. Like, oh my god. One of my friends recommended Sonny Boy, and I checked it out, and it was pretty trippy, pretty different. Check that out if you haven't already done that. And of course, end of the year with JoJo Stone Ocean. Had to do that quick before I got spoiled, because you know these JoJo fans, man. These JoJo fans, they be something. Also, lastly with Mushoku Tensei, and that was sick. That was sick. I need to read a light novel someday. So we have just ended with some of the anime I watched. But yeah, let me just talk a little bit about, you know, some of the difficulties that I came across and some of the stuff what I actually want to improve. I'll try and break this down. Like, with reading, I feel like I'm playing lots of video games, occasionally reading visual novels as well, because what that does, it just breaks down the language into, you know, little box-like chunks, and that's just a bit, it's just a bit better for me to kind of, you know, take in, and it's not too overwhelming. But eventually one day, well, soon, hopefully, I just want to, you know, consume more web pages, consume more light novels, so I can just get used to, you know, big chunks, massive chunks, all on one page of just Japanese, and just be okay with that, right? Also, speaking, like, I did make some friends this year, and I did speak here and there, but it's something I still do definitely struggle with. For me, basically, like, making sentences while speaking is still kind of, you know, like, broken, and I feel like I probably need to include more YouTube in my immersion diet in order to increase this skill as well as practice more. General comprehension. How's my comprehension? That's a good question. So my comprehension in general, like, I can understand things at, like, you know, normal, like, native speed. I'm kind of still at that upper intermediate area. So yeah, it's all right. Like, I don't really get, like, tired very easily when I listen to a lot of Japanese and whatnot. So that is good. So overall, I can understand, like, most things, you know, usually the gist of it, but I definitely want to get to a point where, you know, it's all kind of, you know, it's all good. In terms of Anki, what happened this year is that, yeah, I got to 9,310 cards, which is pretty nice. So close to 10k, but this card count also includes a lot of leeches. So if you probably take the leeches away from that, it's probably a lot less. So take that as you will. But yeah, in general, I'm just happy that I continued Anki. Also, like, there was at one point I had like a streak, like a crazy streak with Anki, like 1,061 days, basically ever since I heard about, you know, just AJAP being a thing from Matt. And sadly, just one day I just got caught up with things. I was really busy and I forgot to just go on my Anki until it was too late, and I lost that streak. And it was a weird kind of bittersweet feeling. I thought I was going to be a lot more upset than I actually was, so that was quite interesting, and I just moved on from that point, really. So yeah, like that's basically like an update of what's going on. I do want to sit like the JLPT N2, but I'm just waiting for JLPT kind of tests to go on again, because they've just been on major hold due to COVID. So yeah, fingers crossed with all of that, and hopefully I'll sit my N2. It'll be cool. But shout out to everybody else who's, you know, been with me along the way, you know, all my friends, you know, the Westfield gang, everybody on Twitter, you know, like Saito coming through with the updates with the English, as well as, you know, the brutally honest Japanese coming through with those ones. There's a, you know, very insightful, you know, hearing those kind of things, as well as Roto coming through with his updates and just, you know, his just general support and just chatting and stuff. That's cool. As well as, you know, my language exchange friends who I speak to every week, like those two, you know, amazing. Still can't believe I spoke to one of them for almost 3 years now with Japanese and English, so that's great. And yeah, man, like, let's all keep doing our thing. Let's all keep working hard. Try your best not to be too harsh with yourself. And I know, like, some people's memory is generally just a lot better than others, and I know my memory is literally just like a goldfish. Some things just come into one hair and it comes out the other when I'm learning, and I definitely need a lot more reviews than and reps compared to other people when it comes to these things. Yeah, probably have to improve on that. I mean, I can't really improve on that. All I have to do is just be okay with the fact. That's just how it is for me. So if you're one of those big brain people who can just remember anything instantly, what a guy. So yeah, I mean, other than that, what actually happened this year is I actually got a full-time job. So before that, I was working freelance, and I haven't been doing a full-time job for a while, like a couple of years now. And due to freelance, I just have a lot of free time. And I can focus more on, you know, just Japanese and everything. But every time I thought of just, you know, getting into a full-time job, you know, I was just thinking, yeah, it'll be great. I was just weighing up the, you know, positives and negatives, and I thought, yeah, it would be great. I would have a lot more money, but I'd have a lot less time, really. And it's all about, you know, that sacrifice. And I thought it would be a hell of a lot less time. I'd be a lot more tired, and I wouldn't be able to be as effective as I was previously in terms of progress with Japanese. But luckily, you know, I'm with an amazing company. Like, they reached out to me for a job, and, you know, they treat me good. You know, I've made a lot of bangers, and it's just amazing. Just having the appreciation for what I do, because, you know, previous jobs, it wasn't so great. So, you know, lots of positive, you know, words from the team, and I'm able to, you know, make my impact there as well. So that's good. That is good. So that is cool. And how I managed to balance that with Immersion, basically nothing really changed. I just had to, you know, yeah, maybe cut down a little bit on how much I talk to people ish, because I can be kind of social here and there. But yeah, I still managed to do like maybe 6 hours on the good days. Always get my Anki done. There's always time in between the day to do your Anki and work. And yeah, just immersing a little bit afterwards. So yeah, I mean, overall, it's honestly just been fun, just immersing. There's been some really tough times. There are times where it's been a bit of a struggle, times when, you know, when motivation fades and you just have that dedication to push you forward, dedication drive to push you forward. So to anybody just struggling, you know, going on and stuff, always remember, start small, get big, be consistent, have like a little bit, like a goal of just doing a little bit, so you never kind of, you know, get off that bandwagon. And yeah, so it's just all good. But I do want to say more about, you know, my actual ability, and I want to show you guys more. So hopefully one day I'll be able to do Jiggle Shokai. But yeah, I'm nowhere near perfect. And I'm surrounded by a lot of people who are a lot better than me, but that's cool. This is my journey, and let's continue with that and make sure everything's relevant to myself, rather than trying to, you know, pick out other people and be like, I should be like them because I studied X amount of time. So yeah, cool. Hope you enjoyed this update, and yeah, till next time, guys.